In 1999, a 10 megabyte mod for Half-Life called Counter-Strike was released. A year later, Counter-Strike was taken over by Valve and became the most popular online game in the world. But it still wasn't reaching the full base of PC players. A large portion of players did not have access to the high-speed internet required for online multiplayer games. Valve co-founder Gabe Newell wanted to find a way to bring the Counter-Strike experience to these other players. In 2001, game developer Rogue Entertainment stumbled their way into working on this new Counter-Strike. They had a previous project unexpectedly cancelled, leaving them desperate for new work. They contacted every company they could, and in their search they eventually got a call back from Valve. The task given to them was to make a new Counter-Strike with a single-player component. It wouldn't be a full sequel, but it needed to offer more to the player than what was available in the original game. So Rogue Entertainment got to work and started developing a linear single-player Counter-Strike campaign. About a month into development, their producer Jim Molinitz left Rogue for an opportunity to head up Sony's San Diego studio. Valve saw this move as a betrayal by Rogue and yanked the project right out from under the feet of the dev team. In an email posted publicly in May of 2001, Bobby Pavlock of Rogue Entertainment spoke on their fallout with Valve. According to Pavlock, most if not all of Molinitz's work on the game had been completed before his departure, and the studio wouldn't have had any problems completing the project without him. In his email, he wrote, "Valve felt that we had betrayed them. They thought we knew the whole time that Jim was planning on leaving, which we didn't, and that we purposely didn't tell them until the contract was secured. So they yanked the project from us, once again leaving Rogue in an unexpected financial hole. Rogue is not officially closed down yet, although throughout this entire ordeal, several employees did decide to leave for greener pastures, and are in fact in negotiations for another deal right now. Whether or not it will pan out, only time will tell." Rogue Entertainment never developed another game. Condition Zero had never been officially announced, but it was known that Rogue Entertainment was working on Counter-Strike. Once fans found out that Rogue had been taken off the project, many assumed it had been cancelled altogether. However, in a May 2001 post, it was revealed that Computer Gaming World magazine would be showing the game off for the first time as their July cover story. The head of Valve himself, Gabe Newell, responded to this post, announcing that Valve would be handling development themselves. He said that Condition Zero would be a collection of single-player missions, running on the same Half-Life engine as before. He said that while Condition Zero would be fun to play, it would not have cutting-edge graphics due to running on this older engine. As planned, the game was officially announced in the cover story of the July issue of Computer Gaming World. The article affirmed that Condition Zero would feature classic CS multiplayer with a new single-player campaign. They showcased new player models, weapons, and spectator features. CGW also went into great detail on the new campaign, stating that Valve was hoping to build in an online co-op, or at least add AI bots that would fight alongside the player. It appeared that the campaign would have gamers playing as counter-terrorists during terrorist attacks in different parts of the world. However, this cover story is the closest we can get to knowing exactly what this game was like, because shortly after the announcement, all of the development that had been completed thus far was scrapped, and development changed hands yet again. But who would Valve trust to take on the project after the Rogue Entertainment debacle? Well, to find the answer, we need only to turn one more page past the Computer Gaming World cover story to an ad for the Half-Life expansion Blue Shift, developed by Gearbox Entertainment. Despite Blue Shift's mediocre reception, Gearbox had the skills and knowledge to make a solid single-player campaign in the Half-Life engine. Valve decided to continue their partnership and handed over the development of Condition Zero to Gearbox. For the next year, they worked diligently on Condition Zero. The developer said that the single-player mode was being developed with an emphasis on rewarding the player. In a GameSpot interview with Gearbox president Randy Pitchford, he stated that they were taking inspiration from games that did this well, such as the Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Gran Turismo series. The campaign would be divided into episodes, with several missions in each one, and every mission would have certain objectives that needed to be completed for the player to earn money. It was also revealed that bots would fight alongside the player, and that these bots could be upgraded by purchasing upgraded skills with the in-game currency. In a different interview in April of 2002, it was stated that the content for Condition Zero was complete and that the game only needed to be polished before release. So finally, after all this time and changes in development, the game was on course to be released. But it wasn't. Valve was unhappy with the single-player mode, and they told Gearbox to essentially start over because they wanted a traditional linear shooter campaign instead of this arcadey, challenge-driven mode that Gearbox had created. Presumably, being unhappy with this last-minute change from Valve, Gearbox decided they no longer wanted to work on Condition Zero, and they left the game in limbo yet again. Valve began searching for a new developer. Again. When Valve had first began working with Rogue Entertainment, back at the beginning of Condition Zero's development, the team was in a financial crisis after having a project pulled out from under them by EA. And since things went so well with that, Valve decided to tap another developer who was in financial crisis after having a project canceled by EA. This time it was Ritual Entertainment, a studio formed by previous 3D Realms employees. Ritual Entertainment gave Valve what they asked for: a traditional, linear military shooter campaign. It was contained in 20 missions that took place in different crisis scenarios across the globe. Ritual also worked on the multiplayer component, adding new textures and models to the game. It was planned for multiplayer to utilize voice over IP technology so players could better communicate. During this time, Valve had also been working with Michael Booth, who was forming a new company called Turtle Rock Studios. Booth was asked to create what would become the first Counter-Strike bot. The bot's purpose was to behave similarly to a real player in a typical Counter-Strike match. In June 2003, after 10 months of development, Ritual Entertainment finished their part in Condition Zero, and Valve began playtesting the game and finishing up development. During PlayStation, Valve again decided they were not happy with the game after receiving negative feedback. Instead of having Ritual Entertainment themselves improve the game, Valve handed off development to a new team again. However, unlike the studios before them, Ritual actually had their content seen by the world. When Condition Zero finally did release, it contained a bonus game called Counter-Strike Condition Zero Deleted Scenes, which contained the entirety of the single-player campaign mode, which was made by Ritual Entertainment. So since Michael Booth had been successful in his endeavor to create a bot AI for Counter-Strike, Valve decided to work with his company Turtle Rock Studios to finish up the game. Turtle Rock used the assets created by Ritual Entertainment to create a new single-player mode, and this time the game was actually released on March 23, 2004, just over 3 years after development began with Rogue Entertainment back in January of 2001. The new single-player mode, called Tour of Duty, was centered around the Counter-Strike bot, and actually shared similarities with the challenge mode that Gearbox had worked on. Single-player missions played out almost identically to multiplayer matches. The player was put on a counter-terrorist team, which played several rounds against terrorists to either rescue hostages or stop terrorists from detonating a bomb. During this, the player was given a list of challenges to complete, such as killing 2 enemies with a shotgun, winning a round in under 45 seconds, etc. As the player progressed, they earned points that could be used to recruit new and better bot teammates that would have varying skills and weapons. Fans and critics had mixed opinions on Condition Zero when it released. On one hand, it was an improved version of the most popular multiplayer shooter in the world with great gameplay, but it also had outdated graphics and lacked enough new content to justify the 3-year development cycle, especially since it was considered to be an expansion and not a sequel. In reality, the final shipped version of Condition Zero could have likely been developed and released in about a year, but constant changing of development teams and course correction caused Condition Zero to be almost obsolete before it even came out. And the response makes sense, because Condition Zero appeared to many players to be almost identical to the original Counter-Strike, which had been around for about 4 years. Compared to other games released in 2004 such as Halo 2 and Half-Life 2, Condition Zero looks like a relic. Multiplayer continued to be successful though, as it was essentially a prettier version of the original Counter-Strike, which maintained a huge player base. Despite the reception, Condition Zero did, in a way, help lead to Valve's largest moneymaker ever. See, every time a new patch was released, players had to go download the patch and install it, and this would segment the player base into those playing on different versions of the same game. So Valve decided to tackle this problem by creating a new software to automatically install patches for all players. They called this new software Steam.